Explorers, my name is Sheldon Hamilton, and I'm coming at you from Explore Science Center with the Make at Home series. And I wanted to talk to you guys at home today a little bit about some of the projects that I've been working on that I've been inspired to do by this Maker series, right? And so if you guys at home remember, on September 21st, Lyric and Anthony came to you live during Science Fiesta with our debut Make at Home video. And they were talking about making music and making instruments, right? And at the end of it, we were showing a little hint of a project I've been working on, a 3D printed violin. It wasn't finished at the time, but we were talking about maybe when it's all finished, I can show what it looks like, show how it works. So that's what I'm here to do today. You can see here on the table. But I also have another project, another making project that I had worked on earlier, this 3D printed camera here. And so I kind of want to show two different iterations of like maybe the final project as you were evolving and level up your making skills, but also where to start and where I started and how I ended up doing these bigger projects, right? So I think first off, we'll kind of go back over to the music making aspect. And I want to show you one thing that I always used to do when I was younger, when I was a kid, when I was making at home, is super simple. I just grab a couple rubber bands and like a box or a lid, or like a pot or a pan or a cup, really anything, and I would pull a big rubber band over it, or a small rubber band, and I'd kind of make my own string instrument of sorts. I don't know if you can hear it, but I have like different sized rubber bands here, and you get like a different sound from different sized rubber bands. So that's always something I was doing when I was making my instruments at home when I was younger, and experimenting with different types of making and how to get different sounds, right? And so as I got older, as time went on, one of the ways I leveled that up is while we were starting all this talks about the Make at Home series, and Lyric and Anthony were walking through, we're talking about what they're going to do in the video, I was kind of inspired. I wanted to 3D print a ukulele, because I have a ukulele, I had some extra ukulele strings lying around, and I thought, how cool would that be if I made a ukulele for us to show off. But I got a little sidetracked as I was going through and looking at all the models, because I had seen the models and instructions for this violin, and I was like, well, I don't have a violin. And that looks like a super cool, super fun project to do. And so I started. So here it is, all finished. There are 5 3D printed parts in total. We have this tailpiece here, then we have the bridge, this part right here that's holding up the strings. We have the neck, of course. Then we have the peg box, that's what's holding these tuners in place. And of course, we have the body. And so these are all 3D printed from the same material, just like a PLA, pretty basic filament. The only things that I had to purchase, of course, were the bow, the strings, this chin rest here, the tuners, and there's also one thing you might not be able to see. It's a carbon fiber rod that's running through the neck here, and that serves as like the truss rod, or the rod that keeps tension in the neck so the neck doesn't bend or flex over time from the strings. But it is a fully working and playable violin. Unfortunately, I don't know how to play the violin, but I can show you what it sounds like here really quickly. Here's just the D string here. So you can actually get a lot of sound out of it. It's a lot louder than I had originally thought it would be. Again, I've never played an actual violin, so I don't have too much time to compare it to. But I was showing Lyric earlier, and she used to play the viola when she was younger, and she said it's actually a lot different sound than she thought as well. So, whew, that was really bad. But yeah, so there is that. There's kind of like my evolution of making, right? Starting from this and ending up here. And so many different directions to take it in. And also this is, it's a modular violin, so you can switch out the parts as needed or as time goes on. So there's another bridge concept that was made by the designer. I don't know if you can see it here. But it's a little bit different in shape than the bridge I have in here. It's a more traditional bridge. And then this one was made with some generative software. So you just kind of tell it where you need the structures, what you need supported, how much weight it needs to support, and where the feet need to go. And then we'll just design it based on those coordinates. And so it gives a very different sound, but I just had to stick with this traditional bridge here. But there's that. Very fun project to work on. I was glad I got the inspiration. And now moving over to this camera here, this is the final project, something I did last semester. And a few of the parts I made here explore, but I'll get into that later. But I actually started, or got the inspiration to do this based on another super easy, like make-at-home type project that I did when I was younger, making pinhole cameras. So there's actually a completed one we have here, and this one's a little bit more advanced than some of them. It has a little piece of tin or aluminum that has a tiny, 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 tiny hole from a pin, which is why it's called a pinhole camera, with some electrical tape, a small, I think it's like a peanut container, and a lid, and then it's completely black on the inside. So it's either painted black or it's lined with like a black construction paper. And so you get some light sensitive photo paper, kind of like this, and then obviously you do this in a room with no lights on. But you load your paper into the canister, the container. You can cut it down to whatever size you need it to be, and you would put the lid on it and seal it up, and you'd have the pin, or I guess, yeah, where the pinhole is, you'd have that be on the opposite side from the paper. So basically what happens is, you seal it all up, you go outside, you face the pinhole at whatever you want to get a picture of, and you open it up for a few seconds, a few minutes, however long you need, depending on how bright it is. But then when you close it up, and then go back in and process your paper, you'll basically get the image from whatever your pinhole was pointed at on your photo paper, which is super cool, super fascinating to me. I always thought that was really awesome. That's what got me into photography a little bit. And they're really easy to make. You can also make it with just an old oatmeal container, painting inside black or lined with some black construction paper, and that's just so you don't have any light reflecting in there. Get some photo paper. It's pretty cheap, pretty easy to find. You might even have some lying around the house. And then poke a little tiny hole in your container, put a lid on it, go outside, uncover that hole for however long you need to, seal it back up, and then see what kind of picture you get. So I always thought that was really cool, really fun, and again, kind of wanted to take that to the next level, right? And so what I ended up doing was, again, I found these open source designs for a 3D printed camera, and I was like, oh, that reminds me of like pinhole cameras. I wonder how easy that would be to put together. And so everything, all the parts are 3D printed except for the lens and this back here. So the lens, obviously, what lets in the light. This is kind of like my pinhole, and then this back is what holds the film in place, and that's kind of like the photo paper inside the canister, right? But the body is 3D printed, the handle is 3D printed. There's even like a little, I can unscrew it. Yeah, it's like a little compartment in there for any like parts you might need, which I thought was pretty nifty. Instead of a traditional viewfinder, I kind of had this like eye guide here that was printed as well, and a little spot for a cable shutter release if I want to add something to help me press the shutter button right there. But that was all 3D printed. And then if you can see here, there's even some wood inlay. And so that's actually just a really thin piece of real wood that I laser cut to fit these shapes here, these spaces with the laser cutter here at Explorer. So really took this concept to the next level. But they work essentially the same. So a lot of traditional film cameras have mirrors, right, that they use to flip up, and you can see through the viewfinder with the reflection of the mirror, and then when you take the picture, the mirror flips up, and it exposes the film with the light from the lens. This one kind of cuts out the middleman. There's no mirror, it's just the lens straight to the film, kind of like how the pinhole camera goes straight from the pinhole to the paper. And so there's a shutter button, because the shutter is built into the lens. You press that, it opens it up, and puts the light directly onto the film. And so that's how that one works out. Very interesting, I should say. And again, a real level up. So not, you don't have to start there, because there's so many different ways to take it, but this is where I ended up, based on some really simple things I was able to do at home. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do it, and anytime you kind of hit a roadblock, you can use that as an opportunity to like shift and pivot into a new project. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this video inspires you guys to make your own stuff at home and then see where you can take it. One last thing I want to tell you all at home before we sign off is tomorrow at 11 a.m. We have Anthony doing a final live make-at-home video from the Albuquerque Balloon Museum. So it's going to be a super cool video, super cool live. Don't miss it. Definitely tune in. And if you do miss it, you can always watch it later on our Facebook page. But we also have a couple more pre-recorded make-at-home videos that are going to show up on our social media and our YouTube page in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all.